All right, so if you've ever tried to code with AI, you know it can go one of two ways, right? It's either this chaotic, error-filled nightmare, or it feels like you've suddenly got a superpowered coding partner. Well, what we're going to do here is lay out the playbook for getting out of that chaos into that professional, streamlined way of building with AI. I know, it's a wild question, but it just perfectly captures that feeling, doesn't it? That feeling of just mashing the continue button and getting hit with a fire hose of errors. If you've ever been there just kind of spraying code and hoping something sticks, you know exactly what this means. The good news is there's a much, much better way. And this slide really breaks it down into the two paths you can take. You've got the Pigeon coder, who's basically just fighting the AI the whole time, and then you've got the pro coder, who actually builds with the AI. See, the crucial thing to remember is that these language models are just incredibly sophisticated guessing machines. All they're doing is trying to predict the next best bit of code. So our job as the human in the loop is to make their guesses better. So let's get into how you actually do that. So how do you make that jump to pro coder? Well, it all starts with the foundation. And here's the thing, the most important work you'll do, it actually happens before the AI generates a single line of code. It all comes down to two things, how you plan and how you prompt. In this right here, this is probably the number one biggest mistake that people make. You got to think about it. An AI can code at like lightning speed. If you just let it run wild without a clear plan, it's like a bullet train heading full speed in the completely wrong direction. That's why planning is suddenly more critical than it has ever been before. Okay, so what does plan mode actually look like in practice? Well, it's pretty simple. First, and this is key, you don't ask for code. You ask the AI to plan out the entire project structure for you. Then step two, you start a conversation. You go back and forth with it, refining that plan. And this is where the magic happens in step three. The AI will often start pointing out edge cases or side effects you hadn't even thought of. I mean, doing this simple step up front can save you a world of hurt later on. All right, here's a little hack for you, and it might feel kind of weird at first, but stick with me. Talk to your AI, don't just type. Think about it, when we type a prompt, we're usually pretty brief, kind of to the point, but when we speak, we naturally add way more detail, more context. It's just more human. And all that extra rich information gives the AI a so much better chance of nailing what you want on the first try. All right, so you've nailed your planning, you're dictating these awesome detailed prompts. What's next? Well, the next level up is all about information. A great plan is one thing, but to get those truly pro-level results, you've got to feed your AI the right stuff. Because, as you can see here, context is absolutely king. So how do you give it that context? Well, this is where something called an MCP server comes into play. MCP stands for Master Control Program. Now, the easiest way to picture this is to think of it like a USB port for your AI. It's how it plugs into the real world. It can pull in live data, hit APIs, and this is a big one, get the latest up-to-date documentation for all the libraries and tools you're building with. Now, the upside here is huge. I mean, we all know the pain. A package updates, something breaks, and your whole day's ruined. MCP servers help the AI manage that because it always has the newest info. But, and this is a really big but, there's a trade-off. You're granting this thing a lot of power. I mean, a powerful server for something like Supabase could, in theory, just delete your entire database. So the takeaway is pretty clear. Better context gives you way better code, but you have to be super, super careful about the permissions you're handing out. And this whole idea of continuously feeding the AI better context, it leads to this really powerful concept called compound engineering. The goal here is that your AI isn't just a one-off tool you use and then forget about. It should be more like a partner that gets smarter and smarter about your specific project with every single prompt you give it. So how do you actually do that? Well, there's a pretty simple trick. You use special rule files. Think of these files as like a living manual for your app that the AI can always refer back to. Are you always telling it the same things over and over, like use this theme or style components this way? Just pop it into one of these files. You can start small and just add to it as you go. One quick word of warning though, don't make it too big. If you overload the AI's context window, it'll start to forget the earlier rules, and you're kind of back where you started. Okay, so we've talked about the technical stuff, the planning, the prompting, the context. But now we need to shift gears and talk about something that's honestly just as crucial, your mindset. because this really is a partnership, and succeeding with it means you have to start thinking a little differently. And this quote, this might be the single best way to think about it. An AI can be absolutely brilliant, it's lightning fast, it can churn out incredible work, but it also needs you to constantly guide it. It gets distracted super easily, and it will confidently march down the completely wrong path if you let it. So, how do you manage this brilliant but super distractible junior dev? Well, you give it very specific, bite-sized tasks. You give it tight, super relevant context for every single thing you ask. Your job isn't just to be a manager, it's to be a collaborator. The AI is amazing at connecting the dots. Your job is to make sure those dots are really, really close together. A lot of people are worried that using AI is going to make us worse coders, that we'll lose our craft. And that's a real concern. The pro way to handle this is to have two different modes. Look, if you're building your own app, your goal is pure speed, maximum productivity. You guide, the AI codes. Simple. But if you're working for a company and you want to keep growing your skills, you flip the switch. Your goal becomes maximum learning, and you start treating the AI like a senior pair programmer. You ask it questions like, hey, why'd you do it that way? You use it to learn, not just to produce. It's all about being intentional. And really, that's the bottom line right there. It has to be a conscious choice. It doesn't matter if you're a junior dev trying to level up or a senior who wants to stay on top of your game. You have to choose to learn. That is the critical rule that makes sure AI becomes a rocket booster for your career instead of a ceiling. Okay, let's wrap up with one last pro hack. And this one is for all the engineers out there who are absolute wizards with logic, but, maybe not so much with the whole visual design thing. This is so clever, and it works surprisingly well. First, just find an app design you really like. Step 2, take a screenshot. Step 3, literally just drag and drop that image right into your AI assistant. But here's the key, and this is step 4, the most important part. You have to give it a very specific constraint. You tell it, only use the color scheme and the font from this design. And that little instruction is the secret sauce. It stops the AI from trying to copy the whole layout and just forces it to borrow the aesthetic. And just like that, you get a professional-looking design in, minutes. So that leaves us with a big question, one that really gets to the heart of this whole shift. As these AIs get more and more powerful, is the most valuable skill really writing code anymore? Or is it becoming a master guide, an architect who can skillfully direct this incredibly powerful partner? As this tech keeps evolving, the answer to that question, well, it might just define what it means to be a great engineer in the future.